So you felt like you had imposter syndrome when you were at the Bluecoats, huh?
Yeah, definitely.
Interesting, because I remember watching you at auditions when you guys were you were tracking a roles
Oh yeah,
exercise,
I
and I
remember
remember
that.
watching you nail it. And I was like, yes, Jared.
That was a different level of, I don't know, like I don't know what came over me. It was I was nervous, but it was hard for me to feel the nerves because, well, maybe not hard, but it was just a different kind of emotion took over. It was almost surreal that I was there, and it was hard for me to believe that I was that close to making it.
Yeah,
Because every year before, I had tried out for 2 years at Bluecoats before that in 2015 and 16, and I had gotten cut both years. Didn't get a call back, both of them. So that was the first year I'd been at callbacks, and I was about to.
hmm,
Well, I had a very realistic chance at making it,
yeah,
and I didn't. I don't think it had dawned over me in the moment. I was just like, all right, this is happening. Um, I actually I received a lot of helpful support from, I think it was Chris, Kyle, and Landon at callbacks specifically. Um, I didn't even really know any of them, and they were kind of giving me a lot of positive feedback throughout the weekend. Like, dude, you sound good. Like, keep it
that's
up.
good.
And that really stuck with me.
Hmm.
Um, and I feel I'd like to think that that's something that I try to reflect back toward people with not as much experience as I do now. Kind of
Yeah,
fulfilling that role now.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, during auditions, that one down the line of the show music, like we were done, like doing it all together, and then he was like, Roger said, Jared, you're next. Do you want a rep with everybody, or do you want to just do it? Like, I'll just do it. Like,
Yep,
without even thinking about it, I said that came out of my mouth and I did it.
yep.
And I did the rep and I didn't mess up. I thought it was pretty good. And then it was like I was in a trance. It just happened.
Yes.
And then I put my sticks down, and then I look at Subin, and he's like, I'm like, oh my God, that was pretty good. Um, and after that, we finished individuals doing it. And yeah, that was a crazy, memorable audition experience I'll never forget.
Yeah, it's crazy how those high pressure situations can bring out the best, sometimes the worst
Yeah,
in us. And you just kind of have to hope that you've trained the right way and you got to trust yourself. A lot of
yeah,
trust
that's hard.
involved. It
That's
is
really hard.
hard.
I feel personally, I have a lot of, even maybe a little bit now still. After all my years, I think too much in the moment. Like I get too self-aware. Like, play by yourself, you know. Like, Roger, he likes to do a lot of individual playing, and it's really
Hmm.
good for exposing individual deficiencies. Um, and I felt like even after that, like that was the most shut off my brain had felt up until that moment. And every
Just
time after that, I
good.
was just thinking so hard about every little thing, getting really self-aware in the moment as I'm playing it and trying to analyze things as they go.
Mm.
And I think I can say confidently that a lot of other people struggle with that. Um, yeah, that was a big mental barrier that I've had to get over.
Yeah. Is there anything that you have found has helped you get over that barrier of kind of over analyzing everything that you're playing and doing?
Yeah, there's a few things for sure. Realizing that the people that are in front of you, your instructors and the peers that you're marching with, they only want you to play well, even at auditions. Maybe there's a few that are looking at you that are auditioning against you that are like, oh, he didn't play a good rep. I have a chance.
Hmm.
But 99% of the time, when there's people in front of you that are teaching you, they just want you to play well. And I think a lot of people forget that. Like, you're in an educational performance environment, and nobody is really wishing you play badly. And another thing that kind of ties into that is just letting the moments pass. For sure, if something happens that's not what you wanted, the moment has already passed. and your reaction to that, your emotional reaction and your thoughts after that dictate how you will feel about it later, and will
Yeah.
dictate your progress and your ability to rebound back from it.
Yeah. And that is also something that the staff watches, how people emotionally respond to maybe having a poor quality rep. Are people getting angry and reacting immaturely, or are they keeping their cool, thinking about it, and just, getting back in when they can?
Yep.
Because drum corps setting, you are going to fail many times. And, if you're somebody who has the ability to assess what happened from a reasonable, logical standpoint, it's a huge advantage compared to just emotionally reacting.
Yeah, emotionally reacting was a big part of my first year at Bluecoats. Excuse me.
Mm.
I had a lot of anger
Mm.
and feelings of inadequacy, and those just fed off of each other. I was
Mm.
angry that I wasn't good enough, and I wasn't good enough because I was angry, and it was just a constant downward spiral that I had to get out of every day. Like, ask Chris Morales the next time you see him at rehearsal; he'll tell
Oh,
you.
I will. I'll see him Thursday. Nice. So I do have another question for you. Um, there are a lot of youngins who look up to you. Just like when you were youngin, there were a lot of people you saw that you looked up to, and now you are in that role. What advice would you give your 14-year-old self who was just starting out on snare drum?
A lot of things. No, physically, I think I would separate it. Physically, I would definitely tell myself to take cardio more seriously. Because there were times when I would, and there were times that I just would be, I'll be fine. It'll take me some time to get into the swing of it, but I got it. And even till this day, I still, I mean, it's different with my training regimen now, because I don't have nearly as much recovery time if I were to do cardio every single day. But yeah, if I had a chance to talk to my 14-year-old self, for sure, take cardio more seriously, physically, and
What would
mentally.
that look like?
Maybe jump roping, maybe running.
Mm.
Um, it was funny. There was a time where I was doing Shaun T with my mom when she started.
Yeah,
That stuff is hard, dude. It's hard.
it is.
Anybody that's watching out there, Shaun T, was it T25 or something like that?
Yep.
Dude. And she took me on a few rounds of insanity too.
Dang, she schooled you, didn't she?
Yeah. But that was fun. It was a different kind of struggle. I really like circuit training. I think that was the type of cardio that I gravitate towards. Like Tabata intervals are really fun, and just making circuits for my kids when I'm teaching. Those are fun because it's just short bursts of work and then rest and then
Mm.
same thing and then different exercises. Um, so yeah, cardio can take a lot of different forms, but mentally, if I could talk to my former self, definitely would bring up the point that I mentioned earlier about being present emotionally and mentally. I tend to get stuck on a lot of things that I did wrong or I felt weren't good enough, and that fueled, like I said, a lot of anger and feelings of inadequacy well throughout my marching career. Not even just when I was younger. I had a lot of, even when I was like 20, 21, I had there was a lot of thinking and reflecting that I did when COVID hit, at how I treat each moment and emotionally respond to each of those challenges. Thankful for the mindfulness meetings that we used to do at Bluecoats during COVID. That helped a lot. Just being present and being aware of how I feel and recognizing that there's a space in between the event and your reaction that you can control. And I think when I was younger, that space was non-existent. Now I feel there's a sense of control there. Like, something happens, I'm able to think about the response that I want emotionally and decision wise, and then I can just go from there based on the things that I learned.
Hmm.
That sort of gap was totally non-existent when I was a kid, which is very reactive and emotionally driven.
Do you still feel those emotions? It's just you handle it differently now?
Yeah, that's a good question. I do. I had a well, not to get too specific, but there were times in the past year and a half where I was challenged a lot. I had to exert a lot of self control with certain people in my life, and situations that I was unfamiliar with, or just like that would cause anger and sense of a lack of control. And I think that was one thing that I really, really wanted was control. And I felt inadequate because I didn't have control over my anger. And I felt like it was something I had to control when in reality, it was just something that I had to recognize in the moment and let pass. That was probably one of my biggest things that I learned in the summer of 2020, because I was at home all the time. I had nothing to do, and in those times when I'm just isolated in my house, there's not really anybody I can turn to other than maybe my brother that I was living with at the time or some close friends. But definitely a lot of personal reflecting that I had to do.
Hmm. Yeah, it's powerful. Takes time too. It'd be sweet if it could just happen, but
Yep.
it actually takes effort and time to reflect on it.
Yeah. For me, the anger part and the control, that was that was how I validated myself before. I felt very validated in my anger. Like, oh, I'm mad at this because I didn't do it well enough. Or I'm
Hmm.
mad at this because that didn't go the way I wanted.
Hmm.
And my anger tells me that I need to do better. And I realized eventually that that voice didn't always have to be there. I think to a certain extent, anger does allow you to get things done and to learn things, but
Hmm.
it doesn't always come from the right place. And you're kind of seeing red while you do it, you know.
Yeah.
Things just
Anger
happen.
is very motivating, but it's not always in a constructive way. Sometimes
Yeah.
it's motivating, but it's in a destructive manner.
Yeah. So like play it bad down the line when I was, I don't know, 18, 19, I could be pissed about it for the rest of the day. Now if I play a questionable, I wouldn't say bad now. I would hope
Yeah.
not.
Yeah.
I'm 23. Now if I play a questionable down the line or have some questionable moments when I'm playing visually or musically, then I'll just recognize like, oh, that wasn't very good. Just get it next time. It's okay.
Yeah.
It's not
Yeah.
like I need other people's approval to tell me that I'm really good at what I do.
Hmm.
And that's, I think, a voice that a lot of younger people could benefit from.
Yeah. It sounds like you're a little more forgiving of yourself for being human now.
Yeah, totally. That's a good way to put it.
I feel like there are a lot of drummers that experience that feeling of inadequacy or just that over analysis. Do you have any advice for drummers who are struggling to move beyond that?
Yeah, there's like some of the mental cues that I mentioned, like realizing that, people want you to succeed, but also in your practice, there's some techniques that you can use that I used. Um, Even before Broken City auditions for this year, that helped boost my confidence a lot. One is leading up to auditions, if you're preparing for one, doesn't matter how far out it is, but treating your practice sessions like an audition. And there are multiple ways to do that. The way I did it was I would I would warm up and then I would play through most, if not all, exercises that were oh no, definitely all, like getting closer to auditions. I'd play through all the pieces, and then I would isolate one section that has usually, luckily in my experience, I've been able to figure out which ones they're more likely to isolate, because usually they're the ones that most people have problems with.
Hmm.
They're the most inconsistent. So you can usually pinpoint those. And I isolate maybe 4 to, I don't know, 6 bars, and I would play it a few times, and then I would put my sticks away, maybe give myself like 3 to 5 minutes, just like hang out and be on my phone. And but I would get my sticks, I'd set up my phone to record, and then I would play the same chunk without giving myself any reps. And in my head, that's a down the line.
Yeah, that is a down the line because you're waiting.
Yeah, you play through the exercise, you isolate a chunk, you run it a few times. You don't get a chance to break it down by yourself. Well, you can, obviously, it's a personalized practice session. But you break it down a little bit, you give yourself a little break, and then you have one chance to play it well. And that was why I recorded it, because the stakes are higher. You know, I get to hear myself, and if there's a mistake, I'm going to hear it. And that actually really helped. That luckily I felt the most confident that I had ever had at Broken City auditions for the 2022 season, using that for like 2 weeks straight, just drumming by myself. Also, drum on a drum. That's a really important skill that not a lot of people take seriously. Drum on a real drum, record yourself playing on a real drum. Too many people get comfortable practicing on practice pads, and it doesn't feel the same. Sitting in your room on a stand, playing on rubber.
It's not the same.
There's no pressure. You got to find a way to put that pressure on yourself. And if you can recreate that as much as possible, then it's going to feel familiar when you get to auditions, because that sense of unfamiliarity throws people off. And that's why people get nervous.
Very good point. You're trying to expose yourself to that stimulus of that down the line pressure on the drum. And the more you expose yourself to that, the more you condition yourself to it, the easier it becomes.
Yep.
Then you're able to not think so much. You're not overanalyzing because you're more familiar with it.
Yep.
There we go. Solid advice. Well, thank you again. And I will wrap this up on my own in a separate video somehow, some way.
Cool. Thanks again, Daniel. I appreciate it. Have a good night.
You're welcome. Good night, Jared. Bye.